And we are live. What's up, Edwin?
How are you?
How are you doing? Let me start this off by saying, how weird is it to do a podcast? Like, not only doing a podcast, but like, how weird is it to you to do a podcast during COVID?
You know, we spoke about this podcast, let's say in February, when we met in Totowa. And I remember how prior to all of this, we shook hands right then and there. But we knew coronavirus existed, but it wasn't here in the U.S., allegedly. It was still in China. And then we were speaking about how it would affect industries and how it was affecting you and your progress. And I was saying, yeah, let's see if this blows over. There's going to be a 2-week quarantine coming up. And well, we're here.
Here we are, December, close to Christmas, and everybody's still quarantined, and the world's fucked, and Donald Trump is out of office.
But the vaccine is coming.
Is it really, though? Like
you're taking it?
See, like, that's a good question right there, right? Like, would you rather wait? Okay, so to me, like, there's like different ways of going about it. So you can wait for other people to get it for a few reasons. The way I see it is like, like you can wait and see how other people react to it, if they have any like fatal reaction, long-term reaction, because like vaccines take a long time for you to actually, I don't know, screen for any imperfections, quote unquote. You know, like people could have long-term brain damage from taking it, and it's all like that damage is always dormant, and then out of nowhere, 5 years down the line, you get, I don't know, like something happens to you, you know?
Yeah.
So how do you, I don't know. So you can wait for that, like out of fear of something happening to you, or you can just be a good person and be like, oh, like, I'm gonna let old people get it first because they need it more. And people who, I don't know. So what's your position on that? Like, what would you do?
I know that the vaccine that's being pushed right now is Pfizer's.
Pfizer's vaccine.
And this week, they're going to be sending off millions of doses to healthcare workers and people in retiring, like homes and elderly people. And they're going to be the priority for getting the vaccine. Now, the issue becomes something like you say, you don't know what the actual negatives are until you start implementing the vaccine. And I know I read a report literally yesterday that they're seeing that some of the people that have been put in the trial or they're getting the first doses, they're having some sort of like facial paralysis. But then again, it becomes a question of how many people actually got the facial paralysis because of the statistics of how many people get that type of condition in general versus was it the vaccine that caused this?
In isolation, like, how do you isolate?
Exactly. And then the groups that are like overseeing this are saying that it's normal, like the amount of people that are getting it is kind of the same amount as other vaccines like in the past. So then you start to question, you're like, who am I trusting now, and who am I gonna
and who am I getting information from, you know? And actually I did listen to that, I think, on a podcast recently where they're rolling it out, I think, in the UK, right? In like London or something. And they said that a lot of people are allergic or had allergic reactions to the vaccine. And that may be the face paralysis thing, you know, like they start, I don't know. But they said that too. They said that it's super, like the amount of people that got that compared to people who had no severe side effects are like, you know, like it's
in the normal range.
Yeah.
And right now, everything is very heightened. The moment someone gets something, immediately, red flag. We got to stop this. What's going on? There's something wrong.
Tom Hanks coughs, and then everybody's like, "Oh, COVID!
He's dying.
Like coronavirus. He's gonna die."
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Did you remember that?
That was like a kind of like a social hierarchy, kind of like, wow, it touched the people, the big dogs. It touched someone high up there.
Yeah.
And then they made a big deal. They were showing him on TV how like
his
I'm okay,
son
guys.
went on TV too, like shirtless, and talked about like, oh, like my parents are okay or whatever.
Yeah.
And like made a whole thing about it. That's an interesting take, like seeing it from a social hierarchy standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, they made it such a big deal that someone from that kind of social status was able to contract it, and they're like, yeah, we're surviving it. And right now, maybe we see that healthier people, younger people get through it. Sometimes they do contract severe symptoms, and we just don't know sometimes. And right now it was brand new. I don't know how you felt at the beginning, but for me, I was personally like very hesitant about doing anything. We didn't know what it would do. We didn't know who it was necessarily affecting, and
what it would do to you ultimately. Because like all we heard about is like people dying and stuff, or you know. But at first, I was just completely terrified. I think I was. I remember the first week, I was afraid of stepping outside in my backyard to walk my dog, because in my head, I was just at this heightened level of just paranoia that I thought, oh, like it could be floating around somewhere in the air, so I could breathe it in and get it, because nobody had any like information on what it was, where it came from, why it's happening. All you heard is like, oh, it's the Chinese virus and stuff. Yeah, which is hilarious because in my episode that I did on the day Kobe Bryant died, February 26th. Yeah, rest in peace, Kobe. I did an episode with Amanda, and at the beginning of the episode, I asked her like, "Oh, like, do you know about the COVID, the coronavirus?" And she said, "No, I don't," or whatever. So like, watching that now is just super. Wow. I don't know, like it's super weird because now like all people talk about is the coronavirus, and I thought like, oh, like if I'm gonna bring the show back, I don't want to be the guy who talks about the coronavirus, but I don't think there's any way around it because it's just like it's embedded in our society now. You know, like it's a part of everyday life.
And I think that this whole time period was a game changer for everybody. And it was a game changer for me because it forced me to look inside within me during a period of time where if the coronavirus didn't happen, things would be very different for me right now. And I'm grateful that I went through this, like this whole experience. But I'm also feel very fortunate that I wasn't affected in the way that many people were affected. And I know people that unfortunately passed away with having contracted the coronavirus, or I know people that I know of people that have been affected by this. And it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but at the end of the day, I'm just glad that my family's good, we're good, and you know, we're trying to still like overcome it
and take all the necessary precautions and stuff and move carefully. Yeah, what you said right now resonates so much with me personally, because I think that that's exactly what happened to me as well. It's like you had basically a year of introspection, you know, like you had a year of isolation, so it's like a year living with yourself to an extent. Because of course, like you could still go out with friends and stuff, and you can make sure everybody's screened for COVID. You can ask like, oh, like, did you, you know, go anywhere crazy? Did you whatever? And then you can like, you know, manage that. But all in all, like everybody, like the whole world kind of stopped a little bit, and then you felt okay with the idea of taking a rest and like pausing yourself. Because I think that like what like how to explain this? What inhibits people from doing what you did and looking inwardly and spending time with themselves is the idea of like FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So like you want to take time for yourself, but then you look around and you see everybody like in constant movement. So everybody especially on social media, everybody's like portraying the constant movement. This guy is, you know, working towards this, and this guy's like ahead of me, and so I can't like lag, like I can't take a rest because I need to keep my game up and stuff. And it's always that like competitive nature. So COVID was like, no, like everybody's going to stay in. And now the mentally strong are going to survive it, and not only survive, but prosper because of it, and then come out on the other end stronger mentally and spiritually, emotionally, like all facets. And I think that that's what I did. So what did you do for yourself? Like what, I don't know, like did you read more? I don't know.
I feel like the fact that I was still working throughout the entire pandemic, I don't know if you know, but I own a restaurant.
Which we'll get into.
Yeah, we'll get into. But at the beginning, everybody was very afraid. And I'll be honest, I saw it in people's eyes. I saw it in how people carried themselves when they came inside. I saw how in people, when you would deliver their food, more elderly people would shake at the door. They would shake. You would see their hands tremble, trying to hand you money. Or you leave their foot at, like let's say at their doorstep, and they would be very cautious about getting their food, wiping it down,
spraying it,
and at the beginning, I was wearing gloves nonstop. I would wear a pair of gloves. I would drop it at their door. If I rang their doorbell, I would immediately take them off and throw them away.
Jesus.
And because at that point you become paranoid.
Yeah.
You become paranoid. I would literally do that, put hand sanitizer on, everything.
Oh
and then
God.
it got to that point, and I started seeing that type of fear in people, and it started changing the industry that I'm in. It made me work in a different manner. But overall, I feel like while this was happening and people were staying at home and I was out and working, I was still working the same amount of hours, and I was still working at a pace that was kind of normal, but the people around me weren't. And it felt different. It felt different. The world felt different. I felt different. And some things happened where I had to, which kind of destabilized my life. And through that, I had to really look within myself to see what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, what I was prioritizing at the time, who I was prioritizing at the time. So when all of that started crashing in me, I started to look within myself and see, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong?
And how do I pivot, readjust, and like refocus?
Exactly.
Forward.
And I started seeing that my goals were not aligning to the direction that I was in at the moment.
Interesting.
I was living a life that was very unhealthy. At the time when we met, I was probably not the healthiest person because I never worked out as much as I should have. I didn't take care of my diet. And this whole pandemic made me really reflect, like, if I can be gone in an instant, I have to start taking care of who I am now and investing in myself now, because if I'm not doing that, no one's going to invest in me. And if no one's investing in you, then who else is there but you? So that's what I really started to push forward.
Do you think that the fact that hundreds of thousands at this point, is it millions of people have died?
Yeah, I think we're at million.
Worldwide, yeah.
We're a million, yeah.
So all these people dying around you, like, do you think that mortality or the omnipresence of mortality,
Yeah.
I'm still kind of rusty, guys, so I apologize. Mortality, like everybody dying around you, like, do you think that contributes to like forcing yourself to, I don't know, like readjust who you are and like how you carry yourself in the world? Because like that happened to me where like a few people I know and a lot of people I know of have passed away. And one of them was a longtime mentor of mine. And that, like, when that happened, I just kind of lost my own ground, you know, like I just kind of like didn't know like what to do with myself. I was like, Jesus, like a person who I thought would live forever, you know, just from one day to the next just passes away because of this thing that's happening all around us. And I don't know, it just made me just think about, I don't know, like how to make the best out of every situation more, you know, like in a time like this where people are depressed or anxious and stuff, like I figured like why not pick the podcast back up and why not like create something, you know? And that's how I cope with depression, quote unquote, or quote with depressive moments and circumstances. It's just I like to create something, put it out into the world, and then hopefully it resonates with someone and someone else gets inspired. But I hate to use that word inspired because it just has like a narcissistic connotation to it. It's like, oh, like you want to inspire people. But like the act of creating should inspire someone else, you know, and that's why we're here. Yeah. So then I just, you know, just fixed up the studio and then just figured out like, let's just push forward and let's like get some, you know, like voices out there. Let's talk. Let's spread some positivity. Let's talk about aliens. Let's talk about whatever. You know? Yeah. And yeah, so that's great. So in the restaurant business, right? Like, tell me a little bit of like, how did that come to be? Like, starting your own restaurant, like what? I don't know, like, how did that happen?
For me, like, for example, the whole term entrepreneur, I never sought out to be an entrepreneur. All my life, I feel like I was groomed to be that because I was always pushed by mostly my mom. She would always kind of put it in there like, oh, you should do this for yourself. You should do this for you. You should do this. So then when the time came where I faced a situation where I had to either deal with the consequences of a possibility in the future now, or wait until later and then see if that possibility becomes true. So then I chose I'll rather sacrifice now and see if that happens or not in the future than do nothing now and see if that probability becomes true.
And hope and dream for it and like make wishes about the
Exactly,
future.
exactly. Because I was facing a like uncertainty during a period of time when I was around 18. And during that time, like a lot of people didn't know what I was going through. And I never really spoke about it. But what I will tell you is that I was faced with a decision of whether or not to pursue like my own business and pursue something for myself. So then I chose to do that. And it was kind of like a spurt of the moment. Everything was happening so fast that I had to make sure that it was happening at such a fast pace.
Consistent
because it
pace.
felt like I didn't have time or I was running out of time to get there. And it's unfortunate that I had to go through something like that, because I know when it comes to starting a business and when it comes to like fulfilling a passion, it takes time, and it takes time to simmer through, and it takes time to plan everything. And sometimes like life deals you cards that aren't necessarily the best, but you have to understand them and you have to like deal with them now, and you have to play your best card, and you have to be confident. You have to trust yourself and know that in business and in that kind of industry, you have to necessarily bet on yourself. And in many industries, it's like that. It's like, would I rather bet on a future that I don't know, or would I rather bet on myself now? And that's how I kind of started it, and that's how it kind of like came to be.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
like,
man.
Everything you just said is fire. Like that's like, I can't agree with that more, man. Like that's, I don't know, like especially the whole part about sacrificing the now for a more prosperous tomorrow. You know, like I don't know, just deviating from your comfort zone. And like this is, you know, has been regurgitated throughout social media. Like every motivational speaker you look at, I don't know if you know Gary Vee and stuff, you know, like all of those motivational speakers, like they'll tell you like, oh, like you have to put the work in, you have to, you know, do the work today so your future self can thank you. Like it sounds cliche because it gets overused, but at like its essence, at the essence of each statement that involves the idea of sacrificing now for tomorrow, it's like something innately human, I think. You know, like it dates back to our ancestors, for example, like the whole idea of money and credit, you know, like the whole credit system in the bank was predicated on this idea of like, oh, give me something now and I promise to put the work in to give you more somethings tomorrow or in 2 weeks or whatever. And that's how, you know, loans and interest rates came about. But that happened because we have this idea of the future, and we have this idea of the present, and we have this idea of the past. And oftentimes it gets super distorted and super, I don't know, like super misty. Like I feel like people don't really, again, this whole coronavirus thing allowed people to really sit in the present. And I don't think people really sit in the present anymore. And I was one of those people where like at the beginning of like the whole fiber journey, like I was the guy who would religiously listen to podcasts, listen to Gary Vee, listen to like motivational speakers, Tony Robbins, Eric Thompson, like all these guys. And they would all say the same thing. Like, oh, like, you know, like put in the work now and like use all your haters as fuel and stuff, and just that energy. And I like first 2-3 years, like it was heightened, you know, like it was always heightened. Like I was a heightened person. I was a heightened individual. I think that my character trait, my personality trait is like, I'm just super competitive by nature, competitive with myself, with, you know, like whoever, like ever since a kid. Yeah. And so I think that can get like, for a person like me, coronavirus at first was just a blow. You know, like it was a blow to the face because of everything you said, of all the like cards that life deals you. And then at the time when we met in Totowa, like I ran you through the whole space. I told you about like everything that it would become and stuff. And ever since then, like that fell through, right? Because of COVID. And I'm not going to get into too much detail or expose any names because that's unethical. But like, for example, the owner of the building owns hotels, and hotels is an industry that's been fucked, right? So prior to COVID, it was all like this, you know, like great conversation, like everybody's friendly. It's like, oh no, like take as much time as you need, and, you know, free rent up front and this and that. But then COVID hits, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, like we need rent, you know, like we need money and stuff. And then I'm like, oh, like, well, but what happened to everything that we arranged beforehand? It's like, no, like that's out the window because this new thing is here. And so, you know, we canceled out, got out of that. And then now it forced me to reinvent myself, just like you said, and like pivot and really think about what like, what's my motivation here? You know? And I don't know if you feel like this now, maybe not. But I feel like the person I was when I started this whole entrepreneurial journey, the ideals and motivation that I had then drastically changed from that time to now, where during COVID, I realized, like, I looked back and then I was like, I have all this baggage, like this long train of like baggage that I've been carrying with me. And then, like, do I really want to carry that anymore? You know, like, is that like are those things inside those boxes or whatever, like, valuable to me now? You know, like, if that makes sense. It's like, why carry all this stuff that used to motivate me but doesn't motivate me anymore? Like, these values that I upheld for myself then don't really stand up to par with what I see now. So we change as people, right? Yeah. And that's what COVID really forced me to do, is just look at that and then figure out, like, what do I want Fiber to be? Like, do I want to make, like, am I passionate about fitness? Am I passionate about business? Like, what am I passionate about? Am I passionate about people? Which is what I found that I am truly passionate about, is like people. And that can lead into like fitness. It could lead into business, but it's people first. And that's why I want to do this podcast. And that's why I want to get it up and running. And that's why, you know, like, I don't know. Does any of that make sense?
Yeah. So I definitely feel that the person you go into any journey, it could be entrepreneurship, it could be a fitness journey, it could be becoming a wholesome person. It's not the same person that comes out at the other end. And if I was as wise as I am in these 3 years that I've been on this journey at the beginning, maybe I would have made different choices. Maybe I would have held off on different things. Maybe I would have spent more time doing different things. But the thing is, this is what life is. It's all about learning, and it's all about 100%. Being the best person you can be and being better than not the other people around you, but the people you were yesterday. And I know you have Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life.
Do you know Jordan Peterson?
Yeah. I've listened to his podcast sometimes.
No.
Yeah.
Oh,
so then
crazy.
if you do look at that, and it's like, I think one of the rules is that you have to treat yourself as
like the person you're responsible
of like helping.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that really resonated with me. I'm glad that I learned that recently. It took me a while to get there, but you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of who you are mentally, physically, emotionally, because the more stable you are there, the more value you can provide for the people around you and the people who you'll meet in the future. But yeah, definitely, you do lose yourself a lot. And I've lost myself so many times, not thinking that things weren't going to work out, thinking I've made a mistake doing this, doubting. And although I never really expressed doubt to the people around me and the people that are saying, how's your business doing, stuff like that, you're just going to be like, oh, it's good.
It's great. Yeah.
It's good. And not that it was bad, but they don't understand the times where you're lonely. The times where you're in your room, the times where you're at your location, the times where the door shuts, and they don't understand what it means to sit down and start thinking about things and start thinking, this day, yeah, man, it's a killer, but at the same time, I think it builds the character you need for the practically the strength of the moment and what you need for the next day.
And then everything you build just bleeds over to every other facet of life, right? So like this one thing will prepare you for multiple different things down the road, you know? And first of all, like, that just blew my mind that you know who Jordan Peterson is and that you've read 12 Rules for Life. Like, that just literally, like I don't know, like, I'm just such a huge fan of Jordan Peterson that he has a new book out. I think it's coming out soon. I think it's 12 Rules for something or 12 More Rules or something like that. Yeah. And I'm definitely going to cop that. But to me personally, like, I view him as like a parent figure, like a father figure sort of thing. And I think that that's what he sells. And that's why he's as prominent as he is in his industry. Like, that's why he's so famous, in my opinion, is that he just gives you the advice that is hard to take, just like his example in, you know, taking care of someone, that, like, taking care of yourself, like you're someone you're worth
that you're responsible for.
Yeah. So he gives an example of a dog, right? Like if you're going to give your dog medicine and your dog needs to take the medicine, you're going to force the medicine down his throat. Like you don't care if the dog wants to take it, if the dog, feels like taking it, if he doesn't like the taste, whatever it may be, you're going to force it down his throat. And so he gives the example of like, so if you're in the same predicament as the dog, then what's the difference there? Like, why don't you force the medicine down your own throat? Like, why don't you just, give yourself that and like with no excuses or exceptions? And that's where people get themselves, because like that's when people are like, oh, like, no, but like that's different because whatever. But I don't know, like what you said about just sitting in the room and just being lonely. I think lonely is a common denominator amongst like all entrepreneurs and people who want to like start their own stuff, because at first it's like it's super hard for you to convey a message that really resonates with you or an idea concept. So like your concept of a restaurant, right? At first, like it was just something that really resonates with you, like something that you saw potential in and that you wanted to dedicate every ounce of your soul, spirit, time, energy into and pour it like all in, and then hopefully make it resonate with other people. But then it's like once you reach that point of like making it resonate with other people, which is super hard because like not everybody's going to buy into the things that you love, and not everybody is going to respect it at the same level as you do. That's when you start like doubting yourself more and more, and then you're like, oh, like 10 people love my food. But then that one person left a bad Google review saying like, oh, like the food's whatever. And then you're like, fuck all the 10 people. Like, I want to like focus on that dude because that dude, like what's up with him, like him or her. Have you gotten that at all? Like,
So in this industry, in any industry, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a creative, whatever you are, there's always going to be critics. And that was one of the things that was in the back of my mind all the way deep down, because I didn't really think about it at the beginning. But then that first bad review came in and, you start going through the motions of like, you're like, how can this happen? I made sure that order went out right. I made sure that everything...
Questioning yourself.
I made sure that everything went out. I put my energy and everything was the same as the person that gave me the 5-star review. So this person saying that the food wasn't up to par to their standard, you kind of start saying, this person said it was amazing. It was one of the best dishes they've had in a while. And then this person saying it wasn't up to par. So then you start having to build some sort of thick skin and understand that everybody's entitled to their opinion, not necessarily that they're completely correct or that you're completely correct and they're wrong. But you have to understand that people are entitled to their opinions. All you can do in that point is apologize that things weren't the way they wanted, but ask what I can do to better the experience for the next person. And this is the thing. People never reply to that. People never give you the opportunity to become better when it comes to that. And that's the craziest thing, because you would say, look, I know you're spending your hard-earned money. It could be $10, it could be $100. And during these COVID times, money's harder to come by for a lot of people. So when it came down to, let's say I get a bad review right now, and they're saying the food wasn't flavorful, or maybe it was cold. I'm sorry. Let's figure out your particular situation. Something could have gone wrong throughout our entire system that made it make sense that your food got there late. Food that's been standing for a while isn't going to taste the same as food that is immediately at your doorstep in like 10 minutes. And even things like that, small little details make a big difference at the end of the day. So if they can tell me what was wrong, I can figure out the situation. You know what? I was in the wrong. All right, let's make it right. I'll refund you your food, or I'll just give you back your money. There's no problem in that. But if you give them that opportunity to respond, or give them that opportunity to get better, and they don't do that, then it's on them. You can only put your best foot forward out in the world. You have to trust the word of another person. I read the other day is that trust is something special because you can only give it to people you're trustworthy of. Is not the same thing as giving your trust out to the world and seeing whether or not they're trustworthy. Is if you give your trust just because you feel like they're trustworthy, it's kind of foolish. You have to be a person that trusts the world and see how they respond to it. And it's tough because, in my opinion, in my particular situation, I've had a very tough time with dealing with like trust and not necessarily just for employees, but in people as well.
Like friends and family even. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, man.
Trust has been a huge thing for me too.
Yeah, man.
And what you just said is actually something that I'm very passionate about too, is the idea of, I think I read a quote that's very similar to yours. It says that true courage is being naive enough to invest your trust into someone with the knowledge of knowing that that person can and most likely will disappoint you. So it's something along those lines. It's like people think that the right way to go about it is just like you said, like, oh, like if you're not a trustworthy person, then I'm not even gonna like go near you. Like I'm gonna keep myself very, short answers and not really develop a repertoire with you. But what you should do is just assume. I forgot the quote. I think it was Jordan Peterson. I'll just look it up real quick.
Yeah.
It's like something super deep, but like super simple too. He said, Jordan Peterson, trust quote. He said it in one of his lectures, actually.
Look at that. Look at that quote. Look at that second quote. This guy never misses.
The purpose of life is finding the largest burden that you can bear and bearing it. Jesus.
That right there.
That right there.
That right there is the key to life.
Yo, it wasn't in his book though. I think it was. Anyways, yeah. But his quote was like something like that. It was and like that just really clicked with me because like personally, I've always been a person who has had trust issues, but it's mainly because of just past experiences and like just shitty people that I've been dealt with, quote unquote, and it's just a matter of, I don't know, like managing your own expectations too. Like I'm huge on that, on just being able to like, okay, so you can't, just like the one person that leaves a negative comment, like that person, in my opinion, the way you expressed it, once you give the person the opportunity to give you constructive feedback and criticism to help you better yourself, that person won't play along, because what they really want is like, oh, like they want to give you like a subtle jab, like a subtle stab, and they want sometimes to get your attention. So like, especially on Instagram or with like famous people, I can't speak about it because I'm not a famous person, but a lot of famous people say that. They say that like most haters are just people who want to get your attention. So the way they do it is by hateful comments. It's by hateful tweets. And you see that a lot with like Twitter stuff. Like someone will tweet someone that they think is unattainable. They'll tweet out, I don't know, like Joe Rogan and say like, oh, like you motherfucker or whatever, like, and just like curse him out and then tweet it. And then if Joe Rogan like catches that and sees it and comments and says like what's wrong? And then that person will most likely, like most of the time, just respond like, oh, like nothing, I'm sorry or whatever, but it's just a way to get their attention. It's just a way to like, I don't know, like stir some
people
blood.
are real life trolls.
They are, and they get high off of that, right? Like it's like the keyboard warriors.
And a lot of these people, let's say that do leave negative reviews, if you have an issue, let's say you're at the restaurant and you have an issue, it's better for you to try to get the issue fixed in person, saying, you know what, maybe I don't like this particular dish. Can you offer me something else? Because most likely 9 out of 10 times, the people behind the kitchen and the people up front, what they're going to do is saying, you know what, we understand that. What can I get for you? Or, you know what, we'll comp this this dinner, we'll comp your lunch, whatever it may be. We apologize for the inconvenience. But the thing is, people don't give you that opportunity. They'll rather wait. And the funniest thing is that they wait a couple of days to do that. And they kind of do it at the oddest times. The oddest times. 11 p.m. after your restaurant closes, 6 a.m. before
when
your
they're home
open.
bored and stuff, and they're like, oh,
exactly.
I just want to get high or whatever.
But the thing is, you get your notification on your phone that somebody left a review or something like that. And I'm very fast with that. I'm like, within the first 5 minutes of someone leaving a review, I say either, oh, thank you for that. We really like the the criticism, or we really like the response, whatever it may be. I'm really fast with that. And because it shows engagement, it shows that you appreciate the people that support you.
It shows that you care too.
Exactly.
And that you're in touch with people too. Yeah. Especially when it's from a higher place of management and it's someone that like runs the establishment, and that person is in touch with like the customer base. Like that just shows, again, like back to hierarchy. I think it shows that people like, oh, like you're not a far removed person.
Yeah.
Because people have that conception of business and stuff. It's like, oh, like you're the CEO. Like, oh, like you're a big shot. Like you're untouchable. And then once you like get your hands dirty and you're in the trenches and you're just communicating and shaking hands and smiling and engaging with everybody, that's when people look at you like, oh, like I wasn't expecting that. And just really quickly, do you want to plug in your restaurant to like people on camera and stuff, and just like tell them what's up?
I'm like,
plug it in and just tell people.
It's Habanero Restaurant, 503 Van Houten Avenue in Passaic, New Jersey.
And I'll leave the address in the
please
description video. And does it have like an IG account?
Yeah, Instagram is habanero.restaurant.
Dope. And I have to follow that too, because I don't think I follow that. But okay, wait, let me just exit out of this.
You see, one of the questions that we did get is from Ashley Acevedo, and it really referred to what we were just speaking about a while ago about how to live life to the fullest when young, and worry later, or grind now and chill once successful. You know. Do
you believe in balance? Like, is balance something that you think is attainable?
Now I do. Now I do. Before it was work for me, and I was pushing 90-hour weeks, 100-hour weeks. Jeez. And this isn't like, I'm not saying like these are weeks where I'm sitting down at an office. These are weeks where I'm in with people and I'm sitting people down. Sometimes I'm prepping. Sometimes I even have to go in to cook, especially at the beginning. And the beginning is always the toughest part, because that's when you don't know what the hell you're doing. That's when you're trying to do everything you can do to keep labor costs down. But at the same time, I feel like it's necessary to build a particular character, and it's necessary for you to completely understand what your industry is and practically the system that you're leaving in place for people that are coming behind you, or the people that you're going to leave in that spot. But at the beginning, I did sacrifice a lot when it came to relationships, when it came to spending quality time with people, when it came to friendships, even family. And sometimes, like now, and I'm sitting down and I know I'm not completely what the definition of success is, but I'm geared towards somewhere where I want to be. Sometimes I do wonder about the sacrifice, and I ask myself if it was worth it, if where I'm at now was even worth the sacrifice that I made then. All those hours and if I'm thinking about that now, like, and I'm not where I want to be, then I can only imagine what's left there, what's left for me to sacrifice. And sometimes I do wonder, because when I was younger, my parents worked a lot, and I didn't see my dad as much. It was only like me, my sister, and my mom. For the most part, that was our like primary family. And then my dad would work, and we would barely see him, maybe one day a week. And he missed out on a lot. And my family is also very centered around the restaurant industry as well. My uncle owns a business. And the way I see him living his life, I could see how my life could turn into his. And sometimes it's scary, because he's getting older, and like he hasn't really settled down, and he hasn't really started a family, and eventually time is ticking. I know he's enjoying his life, but I don't know if that's like what I want to gear towards, because I can see how that can become a possibility for me where that might be my life. And sometimes it's scary because
you don't know if it's sustainable.
And if it was worth it. Yeah.
I agree so much with the part about, with everything, but especially the part about dedicating crazy amounts of hours and just like all of your energy, all of your just everything you have into something. And then at first, and it sucks to say, but most people don't really understand where you're coming from or where you intend on going to. So people around you, like friends that you had for years, once they see you elevating yourself and elevating your outlook on life, they kind of take the sidelines and start like skirting out towards the edges. And they're like, oh, like I don't really resonate with this frequency that you're putting out. Like it's too much for me. So I'm just going to, like exit the picture. And then you start looking around and then you're like, oh, like, slowly but surely people start leaving left and right. And then you're left, again, it goes back to loneliness. And then you're left in this position where you're just contemplating, questioning. You're like, oh, like I invested all this time into something. And then I see where I am now. I see where I was before. And I see my uncle where he is today. And he's at a point, quote unquote, where I hope to elevate myself to or even surpass. And I see what my dad was like because of work and just not having time with the family. So what are the implications that left on his children? Like how does that come into the equation? How does that factor in? So like growing up without a dad, I can resonate because I always grew up with my mom. And my dad, they divorced when I was like 2. So for the most part, like I just grew up without my dad. And then today we have a great relationship. Like we talk and stuff. He lives in Brazil. But yeah, so I grew up without a father figure. And that's kind of why I resonate a lot with like Jordan Peterson and these like masculine figures who, I don't know, like portray the epitome of like a patriarchy, like not a patriarchy, that's a bad word. It's very controversial, but yeah, like these men who can like guide you because you see them as being the epitome of what you aspire to become, if that makes sense. And have you ever felt like imposter syndrome at all, like going through all of this? Because I feel like imposter syndrome to me has always been huge. Like I feel that now doing this podcast. Like who am I to do a podcast? Like I'm nobody. I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm not anyone who has a major outlet. So, and the same thing with like fitness, and that's why I started like questioning myself and my motives. It's like, what am I truly passionate about? Is it fitness? Is it this? And then I look at people who are completely passionate about fitness, people who live off of it. I see people who are completely passionate about business, people who know about stocks and finance and like live and breathe that. And then I see myself, I'm like, what do I have to bring to the table? I just like engaging with people. I like, like listening to like their stories. I like to build onto it. I like to putting out stuff that maybe other people find value in and stuff. I like creating stuff. Yeah. And, but like every day I feel imposter syndrome. I don't know if you ever, like if you feel that.
Sometimes I feel like, and I think this is true with a lot of things that if you put enough time and effort into a particular, let's say hobby or a particular job or something like that, you'll eventually get good at it. And sometimes people give you a lot of credit and then you're like, dude, I'm just doing what I have to do. And it does feel like maybe imposter syndrome where people are saying, oh, wow, you're this, you're that. And you kind of feel like, like
you don't know if you feel deserving of that.
Yeah, and it's tough because, I feel like we're our own worst critic, and when we look into that mirror every single morning, might be in a different light than people around us may see, and that's why like self-love is such a big thing because you have to really take care of who you are mentally and stabilize yourself there before you kind of like put value out there in the world. And it's tough because I had to go through that in a way that was a little rougher than others. I had to feel like I didn't belong where I was to understand that I do belong where I am. Yeah.
That's deep right there. I'd understand I don't belong where I was to understand that I belong where I am.
Yeah, and I don't know what I just said,
like
but
that's like a deep quote right there, yo.
Let's do the playback on that one because I completely forgot what I said. I don't know.
But it sounded good, so I'll make a highlight out of that. Yeah, but
and it's I feel like there's so much left to do that even where I am now isn't necessarily going to be where I am in the future. And I completely understand that. And it's tough because although you're taking these steps, which I know for my age, I'm positioned in a different, on a different like playing field
Mm-hmm.
than another person.
Mm-hmm.
And I see people that are my age that are making like 80K, 90K, whatever for their jobs. And sometimes I don't want to compare myself,
Mm-hmm.
but I understand. I'm aware.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware of where they are in life.
That's good.
And I'm aware where I'm at in life. And, you know, I'm not going to say I'm making this much money and I'm making more than them, less than them, whatever, but I'm aware. And sometimes it does feel like you're working double for the amount that someone else can make, but it's a lot more satisfying the way you're doing it.
Because you're working for yourself and you're
because you have no cap.
Yeah.
You have no cap, and currently, like right now, I'm trying to figure out how I can do more things with the amount of time that I have now. And it's hard because I feel like sometimes in some days I'm running out of time. And for my age to be thinking like that, it's kind of negative.
It's crazy.
Because some days I kind of schedule my day out to have like, let's say, a couple hours of productivity. That doesn't mean like manual labor.
It's like mental productivity.
Productivity, like mostly like managerial stuff, like on the computer, making stuff, editing stuff,
time slots, and like managing paychecks or whatever.
Looking for like brand new spots, seeing if I can expand, to a different industry,
calculating it,
how to
crunching numbers,
crunching numbers, and seeing how I can like, what's the, like, let's say buying, not the opportunity cost, but something like along the lines where
ROI.
No, when you're trying to break into an industry, what's that cost called?
Cost of entry.
Cost of entry for a lot of different things that I'm looking into, and while that's happening, I'm exhausting my brain there, and then I have to walk upstairs off that office,
switch it up,
and switch it to a different mode, and say hi to people, greet people, take deliveries, whatever it may be. But these are the things that you never really talk about, but they're always in the works, and
they're always there. Yeah.
And sometimes I do feel like I run out of time, and because I get tired, man. I get tired, and
inevitably,
yeah.
So time management, right? Like I think that's a big one too. Do you follow a schedule every single day? Like, do you follow schedules religiously? Like, how do you go about scheduling?
Scheduling is kind of it depends the day of the week. Some days are more freer than others. Usually it is like you wake up around 7 a.m., 7:30. You start your day. Right now, I've been giving myself a little bit more leeway in the morning.
Do you do any like activities in the morning, like meditate? Do you?
I wish. I feel like as meditating helped me for a little bit. I wish I could have done that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But sometimes I feel like I'm running out of time because I have to go straight to doing things for the restaurant. And let's say I have to go buy a particular item, or I have to go file particular paperwork. Excuse me. But after then, you start and you go open the restaurant at 10 a.m. No, like 9:30. You're ready for 10 a.m. Then you're ready for lunch. That whole lunch thing. Then you start doing the more stuff on the computer. And then 5 p.m. hits. Then you start hitting dinner. Then at the end of that, rush hour for dinner. 8 p.m. starts cooling down. People start cleaning. 10 p.m. you clean, get home. Then I do exercise at 10.
You exercise at 10 o'clock?
Yeah, because I can't find any other time. So from 10 to 11, I do my workout.
What do you do?
I used to go to the gym, didn't work out. Cancel your gym membership.
Why not?
No. Because one of the things that I didn't really enjoy about going to my gym, it was Crunch Fitness. I don't know if you have to blur that out because
no, it's fine.
But the thing is that I felt too tired to go. But at the same time, the whole COVID thing was happening, and people didn't really know like if it was safe and sanitizing. Then it opened up in like late July, right? Or August?
Late July.
Or September.
I think late July gyms were starting to open.
Yeah.
But against Governor Murphy's orders, I think.
The one in South Jersey.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
What's the name of that? Mecca.
Where they arrested the guy.
Yeah, they like went in it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, late July roughly.
So since I wasn't using my gym membership, I had to cancel. And then I found this app. I don't know if you know the boxer Canelo Alvarez.
Is he the young guy?
Redhead, Mexican.
No, I don't know.
All right, so that you might be talking about Ryan Garcia. Look up Ryan Garcia.
Ryan Garcia is sponsored by Gymshark, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he puts out videos of him like just boxing super quick.
Yeah, that's the young guy.
This guy, yeah.
Yeah, and then Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo?
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah, there he is. He's about to fight next week.
Oh, okay.
Man, that guy, something else.
Mayweather?
Yeah, he lost to Mayweather when he was 22.
Jeez.
That was
he fought Mayweather at 22?
At 22, yeah. They made
That's how you should have phrased it. It's like he fought Mayweather at 22.
I had to.
Lost
and you know,
crazy.
He lost to him, but after that, he became a complete beast. He has an app called I Can.
Let me Google that.
And that's what I started using for exercising.
And he gives you like a whole run through of like a home, like
you can do their
workout.
diet plan. I didn't do it because it's ridiculously hard. I mean, I'm serious. Like that is the strictest thing I've ever seen.
Really?
Yeah. Like if you really want to lose weight, you follow that diet plan, and it'll make you cut like crazy.
So it's this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can get more information. That's dope though. Like using apps. I think that's what people resort to more now. It's like apps and stuff.
But the thing is, like with that, I lost 30 pounds.
You lost 30 pounds with that?
That and dieting.
During COVID?
From July to now.
You lost 30 pounds?
30 pounds, man. I used to weigh like 200, now I weigh 169.
That's insane. With this?
With that app, because it's mostly like body weight stuff. Cardio.
Like burpees and like
jumping jacks, lunges. It literally makes you like kind of like jump rope for like 3 minutes straight. Then you go straight to burpees and then go straight to push-ups. And then it kind of makes it interactive because it makes you use like household items like water bottles, bands,
sofa, couches,
like a ball, like any ball, like a basketball and stuff like that. And once you can like track your progress too every month. Well, every like week, you take a picture of yourself and stuff like that. So at the end, you could kind of see like your progress. But
it's interesting.
And it's pretty cheap. It was like $12 for 3 months.
So then after 3 months, you renovate for another 3 months?
Another 3 months, yeah. And
that's interesting. Versus $20 at Crunch.
Yeah. Yeah. And this helped me more because it kind of every workout is different. So let's say you like the workout, but one of the exercises was really hard for you. You kind of tell them which one was hard for you, and they kind of avoid it for like a week or two, and then you come back to it.
You build up to it.
You build up to it. Or if you're like saying your workouts were really good, it gets a little harder every day. Like one exercise a little bit harder. Yeah.
So that's like having a personal trainer then.
Practically. I feel like the value provided with this app is more than other apps for the price. Yeah. And you can track your diet there too. I haven't really done that because like again, I told you the diet that they have there is tough.
I might try this out actually because I've been trying one. I don't know if you know bodybuilding.com. It's like an old, like very old website. Yeah. And they have a bunch of apps from different athletes and different like types of training methods. And I think I pay $12 per month, but it's per month and you have access to all of these different plans. But then again, like you can't really track your progress in it. So if you open the app, it's like, oh, like day one, these are the exercises, this is the rest time, this is the reps and everything. And it's not very personalized, like you're saying. Like what you're saying is basically what a personal trainer would tell you. It's like, oh, like how was your workout yesterday? And then if you say like, oh, like it was okay, like it was great, then he'll be like, oh, okay, so I'm gonna make it not great today because I'm gonna up the ante and stuff. So that's really great though. Like for $12, and you lost how many pounds? 30 pounds.
Yeah, man.
Jesus.
And I can't. And this was 30 pounds, but it's. I feel like like while I was doing this was when I was like kind of really taking care of myself. When I was like, you know what, this is where we change. This is where, if you've ever worked in the restaurant industry, or anybody who's watching has worked in the restaurant industry, you know how easy it is to access food. And one of the main killers of literally people is soda. And and anything with a lot of carbs, anything with
Carbonated drinks.
carbonated drinks.
Yeah.
For me, I still enjoy seltzer. I still enjoy sometimes like
Ginger ale.
but I don't even drink soda anymore. But it's mostly seltzer, mineral water, things like that. But it became I cold turkey took everything away from me for the first 2 months, which is why I know I'm hyping this app up, but it's about the person who goes into that, and your mentality has to be extremely strong for you to understand that you have to change. 100%. And at the beginning, I didn't have a goal set in mind about how much weight I wanted to lose. I just knew that I had to become a lot healthier. I knew that my eating habits were way off, and I just immediately cut off carbonated drinks. I cut off carbs.
Completely?
No. I eat complex carbs like beans and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but I cut off like tortillas, bread, pasta, anything that was fried. I cut it off, and I didn't even give myself a cheat meal for 2 days. Well, for 2 months.
2 months, no cheat meal.
Nothing. And
that's pretty strict.
And what I would eat every single day was very similar. I would eat like beans, like a cup and a half of beans, spring mix salad, no dressing. And then I would eat like either grilled chicken, salmon, or sometimes steak. But I would keep the steak a little bit lower.
Leaner.
Less.
Okay. Less steak.
Less steak. And I would just keep like, for example, you know how salmon has like fat properties. So I wouldn't eat avocado with it. But if it was chicken, I'd add an avocado. Because kind of balance it out. And I'm not saying I'm a nutritionist or a dietitian.
He's a specialized nutritionist. Came on here just to talk about
can't. Yeah.
The whole point of this podcast is to talk about this app right here.
Take this with a grain of salt. But I definitely feel a lot healthier. I definitely feel a lot more agile. And I feel a lot more confident in who I am. And I think that everybody could benefit with some certain amount of exercise and some certain amount of eating right. That's my whole spiel on that.
No, yeah, like diets to me, diets are very problematic nowadays because there's just so many different restrictive diets. So there's like paleo diets, there's keto, there's veganism, there's this like plethora of different varieties, and then people just like easily get lost in it because like just like you said, like there has to be a balance. So you include protein, you include some amount of carbs through the vegetables and the beans, and then you include fats as well. And meanwhile, like you're educating yourself to an extent, even if it's only through this app, or even if it like this app motivated you to like get more, like expertise in this area. A lot of people don't do that. So a lot of people just sign up for a gym membership and then they go in and then they're like, oh, like this is enough. Like I have this keychain from whichever gym, Crunch or Planet Fitness or whatever it is, and they just like think that that's enough, but it's really not enough. And what you said about it being up to each individual person, it's like it's who you are going into any circumstance. Like you can have a set of jump rope, like, and that's all you have, and you can lose 30 pounds if you're the person that can make that work. Then you're gonna make it work. It's like it doesn't matter what you have. Like you could have nothing and do jumping jacks all day, and you'll make it happen. It's all about like the mindset and stuff, which is great. And I'm just like happy about like all these apps that are out there for, that are extremely accessible, and just, I don't know, just reinvent the whole spiel about, fitness in general and how it should be approached. And super interesting to me. It just blew my mind.
Definitely interesting. I mean, now during quarantine, everybody's at home.
Home workouts and shit.
I play tennis too.
Okay.
And you should have seen the spike of people playing tennis once they found out you can actually socially distance.
And you don't get it by contact necessarily.
Yeah,
right?
because some people would you just hold the ball, or you don't touch your face at all and stuff like that. And just in case the other person on the other side of the court touches it, you don't touch your face and whatnot. But I've never seen people wait for spots on the tennis court, but there was lines to play. Jesus. And like, you should have seen the whole tennis industry spiked up during the whole COVID time. And the summer it was crazy out there in those tennis courts, because you wouldn't really believe it with your eyes if you knew how it looked before, how sparse or how sparse the amount of people that were out there compared to how many were out there this year, which is good. I mean, a lot of industries did boom from this.
Yeah.
But then again, you have to understand that a lot of industry had to
Just
go down for this to happen.
Yeah. And that goes into like escapism, right? Like people need a form of escapism during like tough times. Basically, it's like it could be tennis, it could be resorting to drugs, it could be resorting to any other way of escaping from that reality. And that does not surprise me at all, like seeing all those people lined up to play tennis.
Yeah, man.
And I feel like, and this happened recently. I took an Uber to go pick up my car because my car was having troubles with the transmission. It's a Nissan Altima 2016. I do not recommend Nissans to anyone. Asterisk, beep, 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 beep. Just put a bunch of beeps there, but I do not recommend Nissans to anyone. It's just a time bomb, and I'm realizing that now. And essentially, just getting to this really quickly, I don't think we're big enough to get sued. So Nissan has been the target of a bunch of class action lawsuits from Nissan owners because all their cars are having troubles with the transmission, and they put shitty shit in there, and then if it blows up, it's like $4,000 like down on you to pay for it. And luckily mine was under warranty, and then I didn't pay for shit. But I took it in, and I was having serious problems with it. But anyways, that's not the point. Don't get a Nissan. But I took an Uber to go pick it up from the mechanic, and this like super sweet old lady, like she's like, you know, like a super sweet soul, like just like, you know, spoke to me like, and we had like a really engaging conversation. And we were talking about how because of COVID, people feel like they're craving social engagements more and more. It's like they're craving for human interactions, despite what the media projects and, you know, like shows you that people are, you know, paranoid and hysterical, and people like are, you know, avoiding each other. People do crave that because of that, I feel, because we're innately social animals, you know, like we need this social interaction. We need to speak with new people. We need to socialize. And that's why you saw that even at the height of COVID, people were throwing house parties, you know, like those famous TikTokers and shit. Throwing like huge house parties, which, by the way, I think 70% of the attendance of those parties got contracted COVID because of the parties, which was a bad move. But anyways, like I don't know, it's just this escapism. And then I was talking to her, and we had like a cute, like a very deep conversation, surprisingly. And she spoke about also the heightened sense of just egotism in modern day society, where people, like everyone comes from a place of privilege to an extent, and then people kind of let it get to their head, right? So if you order an Uber, a lot of snobby people will think, oh, like this person's my servant, like this person's my driver, and I'm gonna treat him or her as such. And she told me about that, and she said how like a lot of times people just walk in super rude, don't even look at her, don't even say hi, don't even like acknowledge her greeting, and just treat her like shit, basically. And then I just sympathize with her. I'm like, Jesus, like that's crazy and stuff. And it just goes to show like where we're at right now. It's like, I don't know how to explain it. I just found that interesting of how people need something now more than ever. And that goes into like industries that I think will eventually boom, are the industries more focused around human interactions and human engagement, and just, you know, curating more content and stuff, especially podcasting. Podcasting is on a rise right now. The IPA is skyrocketing because movies aren't being produced anymore, or they paused and they stopped a little bit, and people need, you know, an outlet and stuff. It's just interesting. You want to talk about aliens?
Aliens? Yeah.
Super aliens. Smooth segue right there.
Do you believe in aliens?
You believe in aliens? Are aliens real? So what were you talking about before the podcast about the Pentagon?
We were talking about how, well, just recently the Pentagon released well, it was leaked. This was leaked that there were interactions between like higher ups. Oh, shit. My bad. There you go. Put that one on the. There were interactions with higher ups, and how they were talking about non-human. Let's see, what was it saying? Non-human technology that was being observed, and that a pilot took a picture with their phone.
I saw that, yeah.
And it was like a triangle thing.
Weird thing, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the leak. That was the release.
Oh, that was the release,
yeah, man, it's
And coming from the Pentagon, right?
Pentagon, and then a couple months ago, I don't know if you noticed that the Pentagon confirmed that the videos that
They confirmed it,
they were real,
Mm-hmm.
and these are all things that are like slid in there, like
Mm-hmm.
you kind of like you're aware of them, but with the amount of things that are going on in the world,
Exactly.
you kind of prioritize what's important to you, and you kind of let go of the things that don't make that much. That don't resonate as much as with you, and you kind of whatever.
And that's a political tactic, right?
I'm pretty sure it has to be. It has to be.
Yeah. It's exactly what you said. Like, people care more about what affects them and the people in their immediate surroundings, like your family, your friends, and stuff. And so when you're in the heightened time of like COVID's happening, COVID, like the outburst was at its peak, and then they released those files, and I remember thinking, I'm like, Jesus, like this year gets better and better. You know, like first COVID. Everybody's going crazy. Everybody's on lockdown. I think it was during lockdown, and then the Pentagon released, oh, by the way, like there are aliens out there, and we've made contact with them. Are you like, what's your sentiment towards the idea of extraterrestrial life? Like, what do you feel?
I feel like it makes you, if you bring it down to it, it makes you look at your existence in a way that is more special and unique. But it also humbles you to believe that if this is true and that there is other life forms out there, that you have to enjoy the moment now because you're not that important, bro. You're not that.
Oh my God.
Like, and this is
Shit scares me, honestly.
I don't know if you've ever had existential crises. Like,
Every
I
day.
can put myself
Not every day.
I can put myself into one. If you start really thinking about where am I? Who am I?
Yes.
Like, where do I belong? Like, why am I here? Like, am I feeling this? I'm gonna die. Like, if I'm gonna die, you feel,
I got goosebumps right
Dude.
now because I do that a lot too.
and you could snap out of it, of course.
Yeah.
But if you leave yourself in there, you kind of feel out of body, and it makes it seem as though you're living a life that's not necessarily real.
Yeah.
And
Jesus Christ.
if you start bringing it down to that essence, and that all of this is going on where aliens are being kind of like pushed into the media, and then you start looking up a lot of videos, and there's like videos that you can't really explain, and then if you start wondering if these things are real or not, then you kind of start wondering like where your position is in the universe, which is why I kind of saying, you know what, like if this is happening, what can you do about it?
Like just whatever.
You have to understand it. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so true though. Like having existential, like honestly, I didn't think I was the only person that does this, because I'm sure that like more people do that as well. But it's just, I do that a lot, and my go-to route existentially, like when I'm going down those routes, is think about something super simple, like I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
And then it just stems into this rabbit hole of like, I'm going to die. There's going to be a point where everything I'm feeling, just like you said, I'm not going to be feeling anymore. And then what happens after that? And then I start getting like this low-key panic attack building up because of anxiety, because of just this uncertainty about the future, about where I'm going to go. Is there a heaven? Is there whatever? And I don't know, dude. Like, and then if I let myself sit there, like I can get low key depressed sometimes. Like I'll just like lay in bed and just look at the ceiling and be like, oh my God, I can't move, because like, what's the point? And then aliens on top of that is like, and they're more advanced beings. So what does that say about us, you know? And what does that say about the ego, the human ego, you know, like what? And I've always been big on egos too, ever since I started the entrepreneurial journey. I read a book called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Holiday. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
No, I'm not.
Really good book, super short. It was one of the first self-help books I've read. And it's super valuable because it puts your ego at check. It makes you like question, like, oh, like just like you said, like, who am I in comparison to the hierarchy of this universe, or this grand scheme, you know, that I don't really understand. I'm not an insider in what's going on, and these aliens obviously know something that we don't. And I don't know, like I just get a sense of, just like you, like what are you gonna do about it? If anything happens, it happens. Part of me wishes that one day I wake up, turn on the news, and there's like an alien spacecraft like landing on the White House lawn and stuff, and then like
we're here.
Like it just opens like down, like a bunch of like smoke comes out, just like the movies. Part of me really hopes that happens one day. And then the other part of me is like, what if they just want to enslave us and shit? Like, what if they just want to come here and cannibalize us and, you like mine us for gold and resources and make us work like slaves and then just dip, just like the Egyptians did. I don't know.
I think that the moment that happens and the moment that becomes real, a lot of the beliefs in our world start breaking apart. Religion starts breaking apart. You never really, you know, you don't know what's real, what's not.
Yeah.
I know that in like ancient times, like if you go watch like Ancient Aliens and stuff like that.
I watch that all the time.
In my like heritage of like the Aztecs and how they would describe beings coming down and flying serpents, and you know at one point you start seeing the writing on the wall literally, and then you start seeing practically their paintings and their drawings, and you start questioning like,
were those really serpents? Like,
and you start seeing the things that they built with such precision during that time, and you know like all these things they're aligning, and you start to wonder, where do you draw the line between that and like the modern religion? Because if you look at how pyramids are made and where they are positioned in the world, they're not there by coincidence.
No,
they align with constellations. They align with
other like key locations with like the magnetic field of the earth and stuff, and like key points and stuff. Yeah.
All right, like this is like
this is a very specific spot in the desert to build these triangles. It's like, what's going on here?
And the more that we uncover, the more we undig, we start to see how special we are as people. Because if either way, if it was help with aliens, brilliant. But if it was people that made it, brilliant. Like you kind of understand that, you know, if we had help from aliens, you know, that's great. But you know, people are like marvelous.
Are capable
of doing something like that with such precision.
And I had no idea that you had Aztec heritage. Like that's crazy.
My last name Calalpa. It's Nahuatl, which is the language that they speak.
Do you speak it?
No. Unfortunately, I don't. It took me a while to actually find what my last name meant, because my grandparents didn't know, and it believes where I found it in a book that it's like in a library in Spain that a long time ago they actually went to do like an expedition in Mexico, and then they started writing down names and their meanings. And what mine means, it's like where the sun meets the ground, or where the sun meets like the fertile ground. That's what mine means. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, and it's Jeez. And you know, for a long time I didn't know where my what my name meant, and you know, it's kind of cool because
it's super cool.
Yeah, it's super cool because you don't really know what it actually means. I know my last name is very uncommon because it is indigenous. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's dope. And speaking about Ancient Aliens, I'm a huge fan of the show. Do you know Action Bronson by any chance?
Action Bronson?
Yeah.
No.
He's a rapper, musician, and he does this TV series. I can't pull it up because we'll get flagged for using other people's content.
Yeah.
But actually, I could pull it up for
Maybe
you.
A picture?
Yeah. And then I just won't put this in the video. But basically what he does, it's called Watching Ancient Aliens, I think. And what he does basically is he just invites his friends and they sit on couches and get high. Huh?
Watching female comedians until I laugh. Yo, some people are
that was not on purpose. I did not search that.
Funniest thing I read today. Dude, some people are really crazy. Yo.
Actually, that video, I think I did watch it. And it's just this like white dude just like watching a bunch of like female comedians, and just keeping a pale,
serious face.
Yeah. Watching Ancient Aliens, and then basically this whole show. See, like this is, I'll just play like a quick clip of it.
Yeah.
It's like a green screen behind them, and they just watch Ancient Aliens. Yeah, and they just get high together.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of
green screen, and there's a lot of special effects too. Like it's hilarious too. Like,
yeah, I'll definitely check it out.
This is one of my
Vibing with Steve Urkel.
I laugh my ass off. Like you have no idea. Like I'll be here sometimes and just watching it, and I'll just cry, laughing. Yeah, but anyways, yeah. So in that show, just like you said, like the Aztecs see it like as being this serpent being in the sky or whatever, and then they'll make comparisons with Greek mythology, and then they'll go to like Norse mythology, and then they'll like see like similar denominators. It's like, oh, like for them it's a serpent, for them over here it's a dragon.
It's a dragon.
Chinese people see it as dragons and stuff, shooting flame and fire. It's like,
dude,
what's what, you know? And have you ever watched the movie called Zeitgeist?
Zeitgeist? Can you look it up? Maybe I have.
It's an old movie, and my girlfriend actually put me onto it. I never heard of it before, but I started watching it, and hold on. Zeitgeist, the movie. It's a 2007 movie.
Zeitgeist? I don't think so.
So it talks about religion. It covers 9/11 as well.
Okay.
And the first part is about religion, and that's the only part I saw. I didn't finish it. So basically, it just blew my mind with something that I really want to get off my chest. I feel like people should sit with this information, and I just want to say like, what your reaction is to it as well. They make comparisons between Christianity, ancient Egypt, Greek mythology, and they get these main protagonists like Jesus Christ. I think Horus was for the ancient aliens, ancient Egyptians, and they put them side by side, and then they tell their narrative and what's portrayed in each text, and line for line, it's the exact same, except they just changed the names a little bit. So it's like one's called Jesus. He was conceived by the Virgin Mary. And then Horus, I'm not sure if it's Horus, but the Egyptian god was conceived by the Virgin, whatever. And it's like the same exact thing. It's like copy and paste throughout every religion, basically. And that blew my mind. And then how it's related to constellations, like everything ties back to constellations and the stars, and like Capricorn, the age of whatever. And then even like zodiac signs play like a part in it, even though I think they're kind of bullshit, but maybe not. But my point is, what if, because if you read, like, first of all, watch this movie if you haven't, like, see like the first part. I think it's available on Amazon Prime.
Okay.
Or but like the first part is worth seeing. But I started viewing religion as like the Son, which is what Jesus is known as, you know, like the Son of God.
Mm-hmm.
What if every religion is just making sense of the sun, like the actual sun, you know, like the sun that gives off life, that makes the land fertile, that brings prosperity, the sun that whatever, that walks on water. It's like from a certain angle you could see the sun like kind of walking on the water.
Was that in the movie?
It was like,
wow,
everything's in it. Everything's in, like, dude, like this made me complete. And then if you look at like Christian artwork, it always has the thing behind the saints and
like
stuff.
the crown,
like
so the halo kind of.
Yes. And it looks like a sun kind of.
Oh wow.
So it's like, what if, watch, Jesus Christ, I think it's I guess just ancient art. See, like, right there, like, what if this is just the sun, and then people, I don't know, dude. Like,
dude, that is very interesting. You know,
it's
I feel
hard
like
to explain.
There's so much you can connect.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the moment you start connecting a lot of the values that many religions teach, you start to understand that we're a lot in common. Like let's say the principles of being a good person, of not lying, of not cheating your way through life, of being loyal and stuff like that. A lot of those principles are in many religions, and they kind of teach you the same, trying to make people more morally correct in a sense. And you know, sometimes it is people trying to make sense of different things from a different perspective. You know, sometimes the timelines are a little bit different. But yeah, definitely. If you were telling me about that and then they start making sense, I'm like, wait a minute.
And sometimes too, it's people trying to make sense of stuff around them, like making sense of nature and like whatever, and then they make those correlations of like, oh, like serpents, and that's just like people are confined by the knowledge that they hold at that certain time, so maybe whatever. But or it could be the leaders and the benefactors of those societies, like the emperors and stuff, like they manipulated the narrative in order to make people more susceptible and make people more manipulative, you know, like people can
It was
be easily-
politics.
Politics,
And
yeah.
it became politics when there were kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
Even today, like it's still, they still like the Roman Catholic Church for a long time. It became whoever held power within the Catholic Church was almost like a king.
Yeah.
And people fought over who was the next bishop. People fought over who would be the next pope.
Mm-hmm.
And you can only imagine up to where this could have gone over position.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's unfortunate that religion had to be the gateway for that,
Mm-hmm.
because I believe that for most of the things that religion does teach on its basis is for making people more people and trying to make you a more complete person. Obviously, it's some of these things that religion does teach you are sometimes unattainable because of human nature.
And they're just
But it's-
utopian ideals.
But it sets a standard for not necessarily you, but for everybody. You know, you like
Mhm.
you want to become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that in general.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like the message is sometimes very misused.
Misused,
And,
yeah. And even sometimes weaponized and like used
Exactly.
against other people, and then
Mhm.
becomes the whole religion against.
And it
religion.
separates us too.
It divides.
It
Yeah.
divides,
Super polarizing.
yeah.
Just like politics.
Exactly.
And yeah, that's. I don't know. Like to me, like I'm not a religious person.
Mhm.
Are you a religious person?
I feel like in my experience, I have gone through a lot of things that don't seem like a coincidence.
Okay.
And that has shaped the way I view God and a supreme being.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, sometimes I do feel a little bit confused about the religion I was brought into,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, I feel very connected to something out there. Like
Mhm.
things are going in a way for me that I know that you can't make this up. Like you
It's not
can't
a
like
coincidence.
it's
Like,
not a
like, There's like
coincidence.
something that's
there's something a little
pushing
bit
you a little
pushing,
bit, yeah.
and you know, even if it is coincidence, it's hell of a coincidence. But
Mhm.
I feel like everyone's story there's a little bit extra. There's a little bit extra that people don't know about
Mm-hmm.
that in
A lot of
everybody's
bit.
story,
Yeah, a lot of bit extra.
and
honestly.
that's what makes it. That's what makes it a good story, man.
That's what make it interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
And I forget who said this, but they said that every person has one good book in them, right?
Oh yeah.
And I kind of like make that something that applies to everything, you know, like what does that mean? Like a literal book, sure, but like a life book, you know, like
Yeah.
it's like things that like little details that make you who you are, and that's why your episode is gonna be different than anybody else's
Yeah.
episode.
You know, I know you listen to Kanye West,
A lot, yeah.
and one of my favorite songs is "I Wonder."
Mm-hmm.
In his graduation album.
Graduation.
And there's one lyric in specific that I turn to like if it was a Bible verse.
Mm-hmm.
And it's I don't know if you want to pull it up for
Sure.
people to see. It's you can maybe just go to the lyrics, I guess, if you can't play the song.
I wonder. I'm pretty sure we can't play the song. YouTube has weird. I could play the song for the people listening on the podcast. I don't know if I can. So I'll
Hit
just
that.
play it safe.
Hit that more, I guess. All the way towards the end. Yeah, there we go. And I'm back on my grind. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm back on my grind. A psychic read my lifeline, told me in my lifetime my name would help light up the Chicago skyline. That's why I'm 7 o'clock, that's prime time. Heaven will watch, God calling from the hotlines. Why he keep giving me hotlines? I'm a star, how could I not shine?
Ooh,
Dude,
bars. I get
That
goosebumps
gets
just
me-
from like listening to that. It's
Dude.
like, yeah.
and if you go through his story
Mm-hmm.
after like the crash and
His mother.
people,
passed
his
away.
mother, you know, I feel like everything is put into place for a reason. And sometimes you feel like you're at a point of breaking, and then something happens, like one little door, all your doors start closing, and one door opens, man.
Goosebumps.
And although
Chills.
and
Jesus
although
Christ.
you don't know that that's the correct door for you, and you know that in your heart maybe that's not the door that you wanted, but it leads to something else, man.
And it's almost
and-
always the door that you need, you know?
Yeah, man. And sometimes, like, I can say this from my personal experience, is that I never imagined that I would have opened a restaurant when I was younger. and I had maybe a different perspective on what it meant to be successful. But I feel like there are doors that open up to you in the time that you least expect it, and sometimes when the other doors start closing, you go through that one, and you have to understand that this is part of life, and you have to see it as an opportunity to get better, and you have to see it as an opportunity that you have to take. And yeah, definitely, I always go back to this song when I feel lost, when I feel like doors are closing up on me. There's always one more thing in you.
One Kanye song that I have this similar relationship with is Ultralight Beam.
Okay.
And it's actually Chance the Rapper's verse, but what he says and the way he says it, I'll just show you real quick. It's the part where he says, let me just show you. It's basically his whole verse, Chance the Rapper. It's just the impact of it. He says, I'm going to make sure that they go where they can't go. If they don't want to ride, I'm going to still give them raincoats. Know what God said when he made the first rainbow. Just throw this at the end if I'm too late for the intro. I'm just like that little part right there. It may not sound like much, but to me, it's like this whole journey, this whole delaying of like gratification. Because I think that's what entrepreneurship is delaying of gratification. I don't know. Like you just have to cope with the reality around you of all your friends obtaining things and like reaching levels while you struggle with your own inner demons that derive from this journey that you're on, that you chose for yourself. Just like you said, like you get more gratification, satisfaction knowing that you're making something for yourself and you're responding to no one but the man in the mirror, versus all your friends who have, like $80,000 jobs, $100,000 jobs, graduated from college or whatever. But the delay of reaching that peak, music like this like reassures you. It's like these people, like he said, when God made the first rainbow, he threw it at the end because he was late for the intro. It's like I don't know, like that little bar right there, like this whole like St. Pablo for me is personally, I think it's Kanye's best body of work for me personally, because I just resonated with it on like a spiritual level. It's like, it's crazy. Like that, there's not one song on there that doesn't give me chills. Like I'll just listen to it, I'll close my eyes, and I'll just travel to like different dimensions or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, and what's your opinion on that? On like the idea of, I don't know, like words, music, lyrics, messages just resonating with people on such a grandiose level. Like that's something that's always like, that's why I have all these musical references. I have all these vinyls and stuff, because I think that music is the one thing, and I've said this on my last podcast episode, music is the one thing that's always been there for me. Like when you're in the loneliest parts of your life, be it hip hop, Hispanic music, be it whatever it is, it's just always there for you, and you can always turn it on and always expect the same consistency, the same sound, the same message, the same reassurance, versus something you can't really expect with people around you, because of just the circumstances of life and stuff. So like how big of an impact has music been in your life?
I think that there are particular songs that I look back to that make me feel empowered, that make me feel re-energized and, refocused. And it's crazy how music can bring that type of energy into you, and it energizes you. It gives you that one more push. If you're exercising, you got something bumping in your ears, and then
it's over.
One more rep, one more jump, one more whatever. And it really depends, your taste obviously, and my taste, and whoever's listening's taste. But we all have that one song, man. We all have that one song we always go back to, that one album we always go back to,
that one artist.
And I think it's beautiful that we're able to express ourselves through that. And through that medium, we're able to gain energy and revitalize who we are as people.
Inspiration to create.
Yeah.
I think, again, going back to Jordan Peterson, I think he said something about music too, and how it manages to transform the fabric, like the underlying fabrics of reality, and make it into a palpable form that's able to be consumed by the masses, if that makes sense. It's like it makes sense of, like, I'm completely butchering what he said and I'm not doing him justice, but essentially it's that. It's like we, like, nobody knows what's going on. Like, nobody knows what this is. Like, you don't know what existence is. Like, you can't reassure me and say, like, oh, like, I have the answers, Sway. I have the answer to this stuff, you know, like I know what, like, I know what the future will hold. I know what you should do. Like, nobody knows that.
Nobody.
So when an artist, I guess, creates a melodramatic, like, I don't know how to explain. Like, it's just something I can't put into words. Like, I don't know.
This ability for someone to compose,
that's what I mean. Yeah.
And to manipulate sounds, and you know, I know we're talking about Kanye West, but he's one of the best at sampling music, and he makes, you listen to the original and you listen to what he makes, and you're like, how in the world did he make that? How in the world did he make that type of melody, that type of beat? And you start wondering about everyone else and everybody else that makes music and everybody else that has a following, and you know, it's magical in a sense, and you know, it's crazy that human beings can do that.
And just have that, like, foresight and, like, see a sample or see an original record and then see what it can become.
Yeah,
you know, like, that's like mental engineering right there. It's like, oh, like how can I distort the sound and, like, make her vocals? And I've seen videos of him producing beats and sounds, like, live, and it's crazy. Like, his process is crazy. Like, he'll just put a sample and then he'll just, like, whatever, and just produce it on the spot and do crazy things that most producers agree is almost impossible to do. Like, he's just doing it on the fly and whatever.
But everybody has that particular talent in them. You know, even if you haven't found it yet, you have something in you. You have something. You have to figure it out. And you know, I feel like there's something in everybody that makes everybody special. You know, everybody knows one more thing than you. Like, for example, you across me, you know more than me in a particular thing, and I might know something that you don't know.
For sure. Yeah.
And if we start thinking about that with everybody around us, then we start finding ourselves in a world where you just need to talk to one more person, and maybe you'll find out something that you need to find out.
And you just have to be humble enough to listen, right? And to adopt this approach of, like, that everybody has something worth teaching. You know, like that's the whole thing of the spot. Like, I'm gonna leave this table more, not only more, I guess, satisfied socially because I engaged and had an interaction and we talked and whatever, but also just more knowledgeable about certain things and more, like, facets of life. Like, now I have insight about, like, restaurants, you know, like, and, like, the whole, like, how, like everything, you know, like your perception and your impressions on life leave an impression on me, if that makes sense, and vice versa. So it's an exchange. Like, it's this incessant growing thing of, like, just morphing each other's ideological outlook and just making it make more sense to ourselves, if that makes sense, you know. Do you have any, like, idol? Like, I don't like to use the word idol because I think that just religifies.
I'm okay. I mean, I'm okay with saying I have idols.
Okay. Yeah. Idols.
One of my idols, I guess, is I found out just recently. I watched this series called The Surgeon's Cut. It's brand new on Netflix. It's about them following particular surgeons around and kind of seeing their life story and how they came to be. And one of them is Dr. Q. You can look it up, Dr. Q.
Surgeon's Cut, right?
Yeah. Dr. Q, yeah.
Q, like that?
No, Q as a Q.
Oh, Q. Oh.
Yeah, look at a migrant worker's tale. The first link probably is good.
This one.
Yeah, it could be anything. Extraordinary story of Mayo Clinic's Dr. Q is featured in the Netflix. So essentially, he crossed the border at 19 out of spite of everything, and he did it illegally. He crossed the border. He became a migrant farm worker, And then in 7 years, he was at Harvard Medical School.
No.
7 years. He came in not knowing English. And in 7 years, he was attending Harvard Med School.
Jesus.
And he said, now he's a neurosurgeon. He's a neurosurgeon. And this is one of the things where you have to really understand that the only person that limits who you are is you.
Is yourself.
And he would say that he would have people working with him. And he said, you know what? I want to learn English. I want to go back to school. When he was like 19, 20 years old. And then they would tell him, oh, what are you doing that for? This is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. You know, don't even look at that. That's going to be useless for you.
It's a waste of time.
That's a waste of time.
Yeah, you'll never be able to do it.
Yeah, man. And then that's why I'm saying that certain things align in a specific manner for a lot of people. And if you start taking opportunities, you find yourself in places you never imagined. Yeah, I definitely recommend you watching that.
I'm gonna watch it, definitely, because I've been looking for a new show to watch too.
Yeah, and it follows different
surgeons
for that, and you know it.
Jesus, look at him.
Yeah, and then it's crazy because you start seeing his life story from where he lived to where he lives now, and he's one of the top surgeons. I think he's at the Mayo Clinic, so it's one of the most renowned like hospitals in the world. And like he's like, I could have never imagined I was gonna be this. Jeez. And sometimes you never imagine what you can be, and certain opportunities come in, certain mindsets that you start shifting along time as you gain wisdom, and you find yourself in places you'll never imagine.
Jesus Christ, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's a wild story, man.
Yeah, and then the other one is Canelo Alvarez. I find them very inspirational to where he, 14 years old, became a professional boxer at 15. And you know, he would talk about how he used to wear other people's gloves, other people's shoes when he would first fight. When he first fought, and then he was like, I remember like wearing extra tape around my gloves, extra tape around the shoes because you couldn't fit in them. And now to where he is, he brought his team along with him all the way from 14 to right now 30.
Day one supporters.
Day one supporters, man. And it's crazy how they grew, how he grew. But he always remembers where he came from. And, you know, he's like, if I can do it, you can do it too.
What do you think cripples people's, like, resolve? You know, like, what do you think? Because I think, just like you said, everybody has one thing that they can contribute to the world that would benefit them and those around them. Yeah. What do you think, like, keeps people from pursuing that even further? Is it self-inflicted? Is it self-determined? Is it is it society? Is it
I think it's
the system? Like, what do you think it is?
I think the most what'll get you to where you want is to be in a place where you're broken. And I feel like it's a place where you least expect to be, and sometimes it's a place where you have to be broken. There's no other way about it to get to a place to never get back there. And I feel like these people they've gone to their lowest low. They found it. And I feel like once you hit that point, that's where life gives you the option of it's this or it's that. And sometimes you don't know when, like, for example, in the moment, maybe they didn't know when he was picking up the gloves or when he started studying that he was going to get to where he was going to get. But he knew that he didn't want to remain there. Yeah. And I read this book, Atomic Habits by James Clear.
I never read it, but I heard about it.
And, you know, he talks about goals. And it's a completely different what we're talking about. But what he says about goals is that you don't need goals. But if you have systems in place that get you there, you'll get to the goals even though you don't have them. So let's say I want to lose weight. If I have systems in place to eat right every single day, to drink water, to eliminate like sugary drinks or something like that, and shit, I'm gonna lose weight. I don't know when, but eventually I will lose weight because I've changed my system and I've created a habit. Although it's an atomic habit, which means it's small, every single day it adds up, and I'll lose that weight. So even if I had at the beginning the goal to lose 30 pounds, but I didn't set up my systems accordingly, I would have never lost the 30 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
And it goes the same thing. If I want to become a professional player in a band, a guitar player in a band, I set my goal to become that. But if I don't set my systems accordingly, I'll never get there.
System to like practice every single day, at least an hour, at least 30 minutes or whatever. An instrument.
Exactly. If I only dangle once or twice a week, I'll never get there. Mm-hmm. But if I do, you know what? I'm going to play guitar every day for 2 hours. Every day, 2 hours, 2 hours. You'll get to goals you'll never
imagine for yourself. Yeah.
But you've already set the systems for it.
Yeah. And that's insane. Because to your point, like they probably were studying, and to them, that act of pursuing something, even if it's a little bit better than that current circumstance, like a little bit better is a lot better to them. Yeah. If that makes sense. Like you're at rock bottom. So any little inch that you move away from rock bottom is to them like miles, you know, like it's like miles worth.
And I also think it builds a particular mentality of working like fighting like a poor man, fighting like you have nothing to lose, because they've been in positions where they have nothing to lose. Yeah. And I feel like once people trigger that mentality, you'll be unstoppable. You know,
that's it right there.
That's it. Yeah. I think that's it. And I think that you have, whoever's listening, you've had that moment before. Maybe you overlooked it, but you were at one particular point of time in your worst position ever. Yeah. And if you could trigger that mentality, that I'll never get back here.
Hunger mindset. To like keep things in perspective.
Yeah.
And yeah.
We all face different challenges, and you know, my challenges are different from your challenges. And I know that, in my opinion, we all live different lives, but if we put things into perspective, our own perspective, we can get to where we want.
And we all have different pain thresholds too. So like what's painful for you might I might look at it and be like, oh, like why doesn't he just like brush that off or whatever? And then the same thing, like vice versa. And then comfort cripples, I think, progress, right? Because then people never reach those rock bottoms, or when they do, they just like run past it and just like try to like, you know, like escape it. Yeah. Versus sitting in it and really like sitting in the pain and sitting or whatever. And I'm huge on that. It's like sitting with your demons and like talking to them, like having a conversation.
What's his name? David Goggins.
Yeah. Callous. You have to create callous of the mind or something like that. Yeah. Like callous. Like what the fuck is the word? Callify.
Callous.
Callous.
You have to. It's a mixture of that and his saying of like, what if.
What if?
That's another good thing that anybody could really resonate with. You have to think, what if, man?
Always.
What if?
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy because like I know we were talking about aliens and like not being great beings and, you know, being so little bit in the retrospect of the whole universe. Yeah. But I feel like we feel amazingly infinite. In times where we are the most human. And what I mean is that like, you know, sometimes the dopamine in your head, like it all gathers up when we feel. And let's say we feel achievement, and in that moment we feel infinite. We feel like we are the greatest. Like there's nothing above us.
I get that.
And that whole what if mindset, you know, what if you get there? What if I get to that point of achievement, no matter what achievement it is? Because it could honestly be anything. It pushes you.
Wow. Yeah. Then on that note, I think we should start wrapping up, because you said 1 p.m., right? All right.
Fast 2 hours, man.
Fast, like that was. I just checked because I've been low key not paranoid, but just cautious because I don't want this to go off and then like interrupt you speaking and stuff. So like I was just checking it. But 12:55, we started this at 11. It's been 2 hours already, and it doesn't seem like 2 hours.
Dude, that felt like half an hour.
It feels like to me like we just started it a few minutes ago, and I'm still like trying to like get into the conversation still. You know, like we're just starting.
I feel like we could have gone way longer.
Way longer for sure. And some podcasts, I don't think I had a podcast that was like 4 hours, where maybe I did. But and even in those podcasts, like it feels like it's only been like half an hour. Yeah. Like it feels super brief or whatever. Is there any like other topics that you want to discuss before we wrap this up? Like any any like user questions? Because I think we covered everyone's questions, right? About
Everyone's
aliens.
questions. One was like, how do you personally measure success? We kind of covered.
We
it.
did, yeah. With like it's like relative to each person.
It is relative.
It's dependent on your own journey and what you hold, like the standards and everything that you hold for yourself.
Yeah.
And then we covered the time thing, sacrifice now for tomorrow, or YOLO, and
that depends too. I feel like everybody's journey is completely different, and some people find themselves at a point where they have to work. For example, I feel like I'm at an age where I'm young, but I don't feel like that.
Me too. I'm 23.
I don't
how
feel,
how old are you right
I'm
now?
22.
22, yeah.
I don't feel my age because I've had to confront a lot of like things recently. Oh,
you're good.
I don't feel my age because I've had to confront a lot of like business things, managing people and all that stress and all that. Like, it's not. I know it's had a toll on me mentally because you have to deal with those certain things all the time. And I know that a lot of these people that do start up businesses and do startups, they're around 40.
Yeah.
And, you know,
if that, because a lot, yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like, I'm like at a position where I feel like I'm running out of time, but at the same time, I understand and I'm aware that I'm way behind them and where they're at. And the average millionaire is like 50. And once you start thinking about things in that perspective, you kind of understand like, all right, this is my journey. You know, I'm taking it at my pace. I'm seeing how it comes. And once I start seeing opportunities flowing, I'm taking it and never looking back.
And it's okay to have my own pace.
It is.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different pace. You know, my pace is different from your pace. Maybe we've had situations in our lives that have pushed us to where we are now to maybe accelerate some aspects in life. But everything is at everyone's pace. Everything is like I don't remember when the last time I was like laying down on a Saturday doing nothing and
being okay with doing nothing.
Yeah, and I don't that feeling of like not doing anything, it kind of scares me now.
It does.
It scares me because
you know what you're capable of, maybe. I don't know. It's kind of scary because I do see a lot of people like my friends and stuff like that. They go out, etc. At the beginning, it used to hurt a lot that I couldn't do that. And I know that once you start dedicating time to whatever you're doing and you start sacrificing, like it's gonna hurt because you want to be there, but you can't. You've had to miss out on a lot of different life events for a lot of different people. But eventually it becomes a lifestyle and it becomes you're aware that this is what you have to do now. Maybe you can go hang out with them another time, but this is what you're meant to do. And you have to be okay with sacrificing the now. Again, it just goes full circle with the
but then I feel like there has to be a balance too.
There has to be a balance.
Because you never know when your last day here is.
What if? Yeah. She's like, dude, like sitting here right now, like I've just, like, I know first, like, we need to do a follow-up episode, I feel, with like more time. Because I feel like it just, like, I don't know if this is weird, but like throughout this conversation, I just got like chills various times because like it just resonates with me on like a very deep level. Like things like your experiences, because I feel like we both relate with a lot of things that like the business world kind of like made us into being. And what you said about feeling old, I think that's a product of that too. It's like the experiences being in a cutthroat environment where everything's like business, everything's like like it's a power struggle. It's who controls the narrative, and you have to be a little bit, Machiavellian, quote unquote, in that scenario. And then you have to also be careful not to lose yourself in there, if that makes sense. And then you have to like balance it with friends and family and love and self-love. Otherwise, it could be like you can become a very remorseful and a very spiteful, cold person. Which,
and I've seen that happen, man.
And I leaned into it at a certain point in my journey, and then I had to like kind of extract myself from it because I was viewing myself in the mirror as being a person that I didn't recognize anymore. I was just like losing friends, experiences, and it's just like, and I would blame the experiences, but really it's just the way that I manage. Sorry. It's the coffee that I manage how I deal with that, if that makes sense, you know?
Yeah.
And so we should definitely do like a follow-up episode.
Definitely.
And this, I can't thank you enough for coming here during COVID and being comfortable enough and supporting this whole journey. And I like I told you before, like I do not forget when Fiber was gonna open in Garfield, 2018.
Dude, that was when we just opened up like the restaurant.
Really?
That was around a little bit before, I think. We
Mm-hmm.
opened probably I think it was April 2018.
Mm-hmm.
So then that happened, and you know, yours was yours was set to open too, and
Pre-sales and stuff. Yeah.
I know that your journey is crazy, man. It's crazy, and you know what? I respect it because I understand what it means to be set back, in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But if you keep pushing,
Yeah.
dude, these are the
Which is
things
the hardest
are
part.
the things that build the people
Yeah.
that you want to have around you, and these are the things that one day are gonna be the blessings in disguise because
Mm-hmm.
you'll have that extra amount of callous.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have that extra amount of that extra gear in you,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, man, it's crazy because I
appreciate it,
wish
man.
people understood
Mm-hmm.
in the way maybe my rhetoric may not translate, and maybe it may sound a little bit too easy, but I never understood what it meant to say, all you got to do is work.
Mm-hmm. Me
And
neither.
because no one ever really tells you what that means.
Yeah.
You can ask somebody that has a really nice car outside or whatever, like, what do you do for work?
I just work hard.
You just work hard. You're gonna
Mhm.
get there, but eventually you will find something that you're gonna work hard towards,
Mm-hmm.
and you're gonna be set back a lot. And although no one else in this world sees that and sees your interpersonal demons and your
Mhm.
personal struggles, like you get that, man.
I
And
get that. Yeah.
yeah, I respect it completely.
And I respect you completely for like everything you've been through, and I had no idea about the restaurant, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I thought it was like a family business and stuff, which it is to an
Yeah,
extent.
for the extent.
Yeah, but like even that, like just having the mindset that you have of like creating something and like not abiding by like these societal structures of like working a 9 to 5. Because to me, at the time when I did work a 9 to 5, it was death. Like that was the equivalent of dying. Like I felt like I was dying. And I just like stayed in there as long as I needed to, like make the money I needed. And then I exited and then I started my own thing and I just figured it out. And just like you said, like nobody teaches you how to figure it out or what figuring it out means.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you create your systems, just like you said, like your own systems, and you start with the small atomic habits and then you build up to eventually what will become, which I don't know.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
I don't know, but like I said, I am definitely looking forward to what's to come. I know a lot of changes are going to come for me, and COVID accelerated a lot of things for me.
Mhm.
It makes you think that one source of income isn't good enough, man.
Mhm.
And my whole livelihood relied on that one source of income, and it could just be gone in a second.
Yeah.
And that wake up call really struck a nerve.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. And
sure.
it's like another thing is like you said you worked a 9 to 5 for a couple of years.
Mhm.
And then I now might have done that before doing this
Mhm.
because of how much you can leverage debt now.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And but these are the things no one teaches you.
yeah.
These are the things you kind of have to learn through the course of life.
Yeah.
And everybody's on their journey.
Mhm.
And you're on your journey, I'm on my journey, they're on their journey. And these are the ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
And you kind of learn the benefits of a lot of things after the fact.
And that's what makes you human ultimately at the end of the day. And that's what makes you worthy of, I don't know, like telling a story, and telling your story.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure a lot of people resonated with, and a lot of people will take value from our experiences and how we exchange it. And yeah. This was a really good pod. Yo, like this, like you dropped some shit that I was like, damn, like, is that like a quote? Like, is that like whatever? And then after the fact, like, I don't even know what I said. It's like, damn, yo, this is
I
crazy.
don't even know what I said.
So at the end of every podcast episode, usually I just ask the guests if they want to. All right, so again, I'm sorry, guys. I'm a little bit rusty. This is the first episode back. But essentially, all right, imagine yourself stepping onto the world stage, right? Every camera on the planet, every TV is tuned in to you right now walking on the world stage. You have a microphone. What you utter into that microphone will be translated into every language on the planet, and people will understand what you mean. And you have this opportunity now to look into this camera and give people a message, say a phrase, recommend a book, or just do whatever, like say whatever you want right now to the world that you feel they need to hear. Spotlight's on you.
I think that everyone has to look into the mirror and see that the only person that knows their own struggles the best is themselves. But they're also the person that knows the most beautiful parts of themselves. And that you have to learn how to forgive yourself and love yourself like no other person. And that enjoy the moments where you feel love, where you love unconditionally, where you're sad, where you hate, because these ultimately make you human. And in those moments of passion, you know, we feel, like I said before, we feel infinite. And we're just here for a gasp of air in the universe's course of time. So be present today, because you never know when it's going to be your last moment.
Jeez. And that's it. Drop the mic now. Just throw it on the floor. Throw it on the floor. Just break that arm right there. All right. Thank you again. That's a crazy message. I hope that people sit with that for a while, because I'm going to sit with that for a while. And I'm going to create a highlight. I think the first highlight is going to be that last message, because I just need to make a highlight about that and just spread it out into the world. So I might have that up by today, probably. I'll just do that. But again, thank you so much for coming on to this episode. And we're going to definitely do a part 2 soon, because I feel like we just need at least 3 hours, maybe 4 hours, maybe 8, 9, 10 hours
definitely.
or whatever. Just like do a whole day.
We could schedule it at a time that's convenient for both of us. And, there's no time limit. We could just keep going.
Yeah, just keep going. Take bathroom breaks, take whatever coffee breaks, order food, eat on the show. Yeah, for sure, dude.
Yeah, man.
But thank you again. And guys, stay tuned for the episode. Well, if you're watching this, you're watching it on YouTube. It's available on podcast app on iTunes, and I'm trying to get it on Spotify too. So stay tuned for that. And thanks again for watching.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed. Thanks.
All right.